Hello and welcome to Good or Bad. Jaws was great, 2 was okay, but not until the third film had we had a Jaws film that was just downright bad. Before 3D became high budget and popular, there was a period in the 80s where a lot of sequels were having 3D effects thrown in, or at least claimed to have 3D effects thrown in. And Jaws 3 was one of them, so in anticipation of this, I have dug out my old, somewhat less than official Jaws 3D glasses. Released in 1983 and directed by Joe Alves, this movie moved away from Amity Island, which was the location the sharks terrorised in the first 2 movies, and this time sets up in Florida at one of the SeaWorld resorts, which is at least imaginative, so let me put on my 3D glasses, and let's jump right into Jaws 3 D. The 3D effects are so good, it's almost like it's in 2D! The movie opens with the shark entering the SeaWorld resort, which causes the gate separating the park from the ocean to be broken. Just how big is this shark? Okay, to the film's credit, this scene does demonstrate how big this thing might be, without actually showing us the shark. The park seems to be gearing up for a grand opening, so they bring in special guest Philip Fitzroyce, played by Simon McCorkindale. And his character seems to be a British version of Crocodile Dundee. And here we have the 2 stars of this movie. Dennis Quaid playing the now grown-up Michael Brody, and his girlfriend Dr. Catherine Morgan played by Bess Armstrong. They both work at the park, Brody from a structural standpoint and Morgan from a marine biology standpoint. Oh, and to establish an even greater connection to the past Jaws movies, we have Michael's younger brother Sean played by John Putch. Because a giant shark, which has the Jaws theme playing over it whenever it's on screen, and one of the 2 main characters being a Brody, wasn't a big enough connection as it was. Since the shark was inconsiderate enough to damage the gate, an engineer goes down there to fix it. But for some reason he waited until it was dark to do so? That's just stupid. I mean, who would sacrifice their vision while doing something just to look cooler? Is he just going to hold his breath the entire time? I don't know about you, but I can't see an oxygen mask or anything. Is that an underwater version of the Friday the 13th sound effect? Yeah, I think it is. So as you would expect, the shark came along and killed him. Look! A very realistic severed arm in 3D! Michael and his brother have a few catch-up drinks. Then we are met with a scene that vaguely resembles the scene in Jaws where those 2 men tried to kill the shark but almost got eaten. But these 2 guys don't want to kill anything. They want to commit a far worse crime. And I cannot believe the world has come to this. They are going to steal coral from SeaWorld. But thankfully SeaWorld's local killer shark is there to protect the coral. Okay, clearly this movie is in favour of the build-up suspense style that made the first film such a big hit, as opposed to Jaws 2 style of throw everything at the audience the second they start watching. And just seeing the light move as the guy swims and then it suddenly goes out is really effective. And then the other guy gets pulled in by the shark, which is pulling on the rope that was attached to the diver. I guess the shark swallowed the rope. And if the scene had ended there, it would have been pretty good. But then the guy has to surface and it shows him being pulled down. Which for me is what ruined it, but not as much as what happens next. The shark destroys the dinghy. Well, that's a first. I've never seen a shark go out of its way to remove the evidence before. Clearly this is a really intelligent fish. They notice that the guy they sent to fix the gate has gone missing, so they fear the worst and go look for him in the lagoon. It's like watching classic Star Trek. They exit the sub to search the most likely place the body would have ended up at. The dolphins that they look after in the park followed them, and seem to be warning them about something. Then suddenly a very plastic shark slams into the side of the wrecked ship. You know what happens next? How they get away from the shark? They grab hold of the dolphins and they swim them to safety. Whatever. They talk to their boss Calvin, played by Louis Gossett Jr., about what to do about the shark. They then settle on capturing the shark and keeping it in SeaWorld, as the first great white in captivity, despite Michael's objections, that is. So, with the help of Fitzroyce, they set out to capture it. and they do just that by hitting it with a trank dart. They then nurse the shark back to health, but Calvin orders it to be moved on the day of the grand opening. And of course the shark dies in front of many people because it just couldn't handle that kind of publicity. Child stars, whether they're fish or human, it never ends well. People enter the new Undersea Kingdom tour where they come across the corpse of the guy that died trying to fix the gate. Why is somebody being a complete arse and pushing her into the glass? After they pull the body from the depths, they get Michael and Catherine to identify it. They then realise that the baby shark could not have done this, so they go and tell their boss.
Its mother is inside the park.
Okay, I knew that was way too small to be the big killer shark of the movie, but really? A mummy Jaws and a baby Jaws? When the shark swims up to the glass to say hi, they get visual confirmation that what they are saying is true. They all run around like headless chickens trying to get the people out of the water, when naturally it is drawn to a member of the Brody family. It takes a bite out of Sean's girlfriend, but they both survive. And short of seeing them disappear in an ambulance, that's really the last we see of Sean. So what was the point of having him in this movie if he did so little? Oh wait, yeah, maintaining a stronger connection with the previous two movies. The shark then smashes into the Undersea Kingdom tunnels, trapping everyone inside. They come up with a plan to free the trapped guests. Fitzroyce would use himself as bait to trap the shark, while Michael goes down there to weld the leaks and open the doors for them. They put the plan into motion and they lure Mummy Jaws into a cage, but the rope Fitzroyce was using to move faster than the shark could snaps, so he uses his backup plan.
For the Queen! Oh, bugger. I was hoping that would be rather more effective. I'll see you to your grave! Ha ha! Oh my word, this is most uncomfortable.
Was the shark's throat lined with teeth? The news that Fitzroyce didn't make it really upsets his lackey. Wow, it really upsets him. The shark then breaks out of its cage. Shark reversing. Shark reversing. Shark reversing. You know, it's a good thing this shark roars before it attacks, otherwise they might not have seen it. They make their escape from the shark once again, aided by the power of dolphins. Luckily they were able to make the necessary repairs before the shark attacked, so they can now let out the trapped guests. But back at the control room they are faced with an even deadlier situation. The shark is not playing around anymore, as hour by hour the shark gets closer to the control room. I'm guessing the shark is in freewheel mode? Or free fin mode, since it is a shark. And eventually, after giving them all a lot of time to escape, the shark smashes through and kills a bunch of people, before they blow it up by pulling a pin on one of the grenades Fitzroyce was holding.
Yes, the shark is dead!
But oh no, what about the dolphins? Did they make it?
Sandy! Good girl!
Okay, that's one. Come on. Don't let anything happen to the other one.
Come on, baby!
Come on, please. Please don't be dead. Please don't be dead.
Yes, it survived!
Hang on. I don't care. Well, that was Jaws 3D. I started this review saying it was a bad movie, and throughout it I have given it credit for its imaginative setup, and even for some of the deaths. But while the setup may have been good, the execution is pretty damn poor. The special effects that were edited in the post-production stage were awful. I mean, sometimes you can even see the green light that was reflected from the green screen they used. And no tail movement at all, really? This is the worst effect I've ever seen in a Jaws film. Actually, one of the worst effects I've ever seen in any film. And oh god, the 3D effects. Why? They just didn't work. All they were just objects lingering around on the screen for an unwanted amount of time. So I wore these for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And I had such high hopes for the 3D effects. Well, that meaning as high as a very short man that had his legs removed. Let's talk about the use of Michael and Sean Brody. Sean was barely in the movie to the point where he doesn't really add anything to it. Michael is so much older than he was in the second film and is portrayed by a different actor. But okay, yes, they did do a fairly decent job at finding an actor that could feasibly look like an older version of the Jaws 2 Michael Brody. But even so, couldn't they have made it about a different character entirely? Quaid could still have played the part, but it just didn't have to be Brody for the sake of maintaining a larger connection to the past movies. In fact, it would have been better if it wasn't Michael Brody, because he appears as one of the main characters in the fourth movie. And the continuity of it is kind of confusing because of it. But I will go into that later. So the final verdict for Jaws 3D is, it certainly had a lot of potential to be a really entertaining silly sea monster movie, and while it is certainly silly, it's just not that entertaining. It's just a disappointing sequel. See you next time.